And welcome back to Taper John and TyeDye Android. This is a dual project again today. We've had a couple of them in the last couple of weeks. This one is going to be the different versions of Android. This is for you, actually for one person in particular who's asking me about audio quality in Android. So I'll bring that out right now. First off, kind of want to explain there's different versions of Android, obviously. You pretty much have your Google Android, which, in my opinion, is the purest form of Android. And you'll understand what I mean by purist when I go along with the story here. So, the purest Android is pretty much just basic Android. Your basic stuff, and then you take that and you go on the Google Play and you download all the apps that you need. That's the purest form of Android. So straight up basic, and that's it. Pretty much Android is Google, so everything's going to be Google, of course. Then you got Samsung Android. Samsung Android is pretty much the same, but then Samsung takes their One UI touch, One UI user interface launcher, and they throw their glitches into it. That's pretty much Samsung Android. That's what I call Samsung Android. It's not so much with the other providers like LG, Nokia, and the other brands. They pretty much stay with Android themselves. They throw one or two little glitches of their software in it, but it's still pretty much close to pure Android. Almost. So that's why they don't even count that in the picture, actually. So far we've got Google Android, which is the purest form of Android. And then you got Samsung Android. And then that's what I say, you throw your provider stuff in there, and Samsung throws their extra features in there. So now you're running on pure Android, and then then you got Samsung Android with their special features running over on top of that. That's why I say you got Android, you got Samsung Android, and then we have that one apple with a bite taken out of it, that was taken out by the Android. And that is pretty much their own. So we'll say Apple Android. So those are the three kinds. And I don't do the latter. Otherwise, life would be so much simpler if I did the latter. Whereas I wouldn't have had half of all these experiments I've had to do for like the last 2 or 3 years. But I like this. I like this because I'm learning. I'm an innovator, and sharing it with you guys now. But it can be done. This stuff with Android can be done that you can't do that you can do on Apple Android, that you can't do on normal Android. So with that said, now I can go backtrack a little bit. One person asked me or suggested or made a comment one time that he wants to go Apple because he can't deal with and its power is turning down and this, that, and everything, and he wants to get rid of his Pixel. Well, you are right to a degree. Like I said, Google Pixels is pretty much a normal smartphone. Pure Google. They're not throwing anything extra in there. So they don't need a fancy chipset. They don't need plenty of RAM. They don't need huge internal storage. So when they design the Pixels, they don't think of that in mind. Okay, so now we go to Samsung Android. Okay, you got the apps in there. Now they like LG, for example. They specialize in the camera. The last 3 years, they've been specializing in high DAC audio. Great. LG is probably one of the better ones up there when it comes to us tapers and audiophiles. LG is probably one of the best. It's become normal. They haven't. Samsung this year, I can't speak for the S10 and all that, but the Note 10, they actually stepped up the game a little bit, but they gave you, instead of putting inside the phone, they put it in the little OTG adapter, the on-the-go adapter. They put it in there. I don't know why. 95% of the people ain't going to take that out of the box. So I don't know why they did that. And the reason why I know that from my own test is because I did it with my standard OTG cable and nothing worked. But when I put that dongle in, sorry, it's still in my gear bag. But when they put that in there and I tried that, bam, I had my digital audio all back going into my phone, into the Note 10 Plus. So Samsung actually stepped up the game last fall. So I give them my hats off on that. Now the Apple Android, the Apple iPhones, that's all built in. And that's why I never discuss that, because it's all easy. You can just pretty much plug and play and go. So there's no need to really talk about that. But we're talking basic Android, and that's where we're getting an issue. Some of the apps that we use will not work with my external driver app to give me my digital audio. But on the Note 10 Plus, so far I have not seen that glitch. So the newer Samsungs are actually compatible now, in our opinions, as tapers. Samsung actually stepped up the game this year, or should I say last fall. I just got mine last month, so that's how I know that part. Sorry for being a little late. But those are the 3 versions of Android, in my opinion. And like I said, LG and is probably the best one out there. Samsung, like I said, just stepped up the game this last fall. And that's why I don't really care for going with Google on the Pixel. But on the other sense, if you're not a taper, I actually like the Pixels, the Google Pixels, the pure Android, because of the operating system. You would be able to get to play with the operating system like you're up to date. You're pretty much up to date on the operating system. So you kind of know how they feel, as if you're pure Android. I like that just so I can know how to play. And actually it takes me about 2 weeks to set everything up in my Samsung Android to get it the way I want. So I have to take a lot of that stuff off. I have to convert it over to pure Android, or at least make it the phone act like it's pure Android, and I try to get rid of some of that Samsung stuff off, or at least the stuff that I can't remove. I either force it to close or I put it off in the background so I can't see it. So it takes me about a week just to prep my phones for what I use and what I want and the way I like it to appear. So, that said, I hope you understand what I was talking about now, and the one person that this is actually dedicated for hopefully will have a little bit of knowledge, and if not, leave a question and I will definitely get back to you and reply on that. Those are 3 versions of Android, technically, and how and why, which one is probably better for audiophiles, the people who actually listen and are quite detailed into their music. That's my take on that. You may differ, but pretty much boils down to those 3 types. So, and that's what I'm saying. There's Android, Samsung Android, and there's the iPhone. That's it. The other brands fall in between Google and Samsung Android, and they got their little special additives. That's why I always say there's 3 types of Android. Pure, modified, and the Apple way. You notice I'm not smiling on that one. So, that's pretty much it on that one. If you have any other questions, leave the comments below. I'll definitely get back to you. If you give me a reason to make another video, that's fine. So, I hope this was somewhat informative for you. And if you want more details on the audio aspects of it, let me know what I left out. I'm sure I left out a lot. There's some things that I think everybody knows that I assume everybody knows, but a lot of people don't. So, alright. Catch you guys later. As always,